This is for Comrades in Arms. Please notify Naval Information Broadcasting Section, Ottawa. This is the Navy reporting from London. Recent news reports told of the loss of one of Canada's finest naval vessels, His Majesty's Canadian ship Athabaskan, Harbor-class destroyer, which was commissioned a little over a year ago. That year has been an arduous one for Athabaskan. She packed as much action into the few months of her life as many destroyers have seen throughout the war.
HMCS Athabaskan was a tribal class destroyer. There were 27 made. For its time, it was state-of-the-art. It was an extremely maneuverable ship. It was fast. They were kind of known as the Greyhound of the sea. On the night of April 28th, wee hours of April 29th, they received word that there were enemy ships in the area near the French coast. They were directed to engage the enemy, and unfortunately, the Athabaskan was hit.
When World War II broke out, Canada quickly joined and committed the full force of its Navy. But what they realized is that they had a shortage of junior officers, and so they needed a place where they could quickly train officers to be ready to contribute to the war effort. The location of Hatley Park, which is now the site of Royal Roads, was ideal because it was close to the Esquimalt dockyards. So they bought the property for $75,000 in 1940 and quickly went about transforming it to become a training institution. And it remained a military training institution for 55 years.
Well, first of all, let me say that his name is Annette, not Annette. And he always had difficulty getting people to understand that. Bob was in the same class as me. We began as cadets here at Royal Roads. Although he was always very well liked, he was always a quiet boy. We spent our time living in the castle because Grant Block, being wartime, it wasn't finished. The dining room was our dining room and the large drawing room was our gun room, which made it quite cozy. And being there for just 1 year, and with the war being hot at that time, we were all eager to get this year behind us and get off to sea.
Defining leadership is always a difficult question because there is no one agreed upon definition. From what I understand of Bob's experience as an 18-year-old young man coming here to be prepared to go into what would most likely be the most difficult and the most probably transformative aspect of his life, a wartime experience. As an educator, it seems almost unfathomable to me to think that one could be prepared for a situation like that.
There were men spread out across a half mile, floating in the water. And with her bow up, she sank. It was very close to daybreak, so they were in a very vulnerable position at this point. HMCS Haida lowered their scrambling nets. They were calling to the men, swim towards us, it's Haida. Once daybreak hit, they were sitting ducks for German airstrikes. So they really had to leave. Harry DeWolf made the difficult decision. He said, I'm going to stay for 15 minutes. And time kept ticking, and he was still there. He was still pulling men off those scrambling nets. And even Captain John Stubbs from the water called out, "Get clear, Haida. Get out of here. Save yourselves, save your men."
The news came rather indirectly, and it was a shock, naturally. Besides, Annette, our gym instructor, Chief Petty Officer Sweet, he was a casualty of Athabaskan sinking too. He was as much remembered as Annette was.
"128 lives were lost that night, so that's roughly half of your crew. 85 were picked up by the Germans and became prisoners of war. Haida picked up 42 on the scrambling nets, and then the motor cutter picked up an extra 6. So for a total of 48.
Here in London today are leading signalman Ray Chadsey of Vancouver, able seaman Andre Odette of Montreal, and signalman Tom Eady of Welland. Well, lads, you're 3 of 46 survivors landed in England, aren't you?
Yes, there were 1 officer and 39 ratings landed by another Canadian destroyer, and 6 in a motorboat.
How about you two? Both all right?
Yes, I wasn't hurt at all.
Nor me.
I understand the whole ship's company behaved very well.
Well, I think so. Spirits were pretty high.
It was a good ship. And a very happy ship, too.
We liked our skipper, too. We thought he was the best one in the whole Navy. We sure hope he's safe.
Well, I think everyone will join you in that, Chadsey.
My connection to the Athabaskan story is I was the commanding officer of HMCS Athabaskan, hull number 282, the 3rd Athabaskan. Through my time in command in Athabaskan, I was fortunate enough to meet surviving members of G07, the original Athabaskan. Lieutenant Commander Stubbs was ahead of his time as far as leadership goes. When he joined Athabaskan in November of 43, he gets a different vibe in the ship. He goes around and tries to figure out what's going to motivate this team. Gambling on board RCN ships was illegal, but it still went on. And early on, Lieutenant Commander Stubbs, I think trying to improve that morale, asked Sub-Lieutenant Annette to go down and get some dice from the junior ranks mess. So he sent him down, he got some dice to bring to the wardroom. And that would have resonated throughout the ship. Here's the captain breaking the rules, but in the interest of his men and on improving morale. And I think that was rare in World War II. There are times as a captain of a ship that the authoritarian style is the way to go, when you're giving orders and lives depend on it. But there's also that collaborative effort that you could use. What we saw clearly that John Stubbs very much used that collaborative style. And I think that says a lot to the leadership styles of Lieutenant Commander Stubbs.
Our school motto is Ensemble on peut tout faire. That means together we can do anything. And really it's about the sacrifice and the spirit of pulling together to achieve something. And that idea of sacrifice, of offering themselves to others, to support others, is really a major part of our school community and culture. Many of the students had heard the stories of John Stubbs, but not really put a place or a value or a vision of where he actually is resting. And to have that opportunity gave a new life to the children, a new life to the name John Stubbs, that the children had never really been able to connect.
We share a common history with people 8,000 kilometers away from Colwood. They are the guardians of remembrance there of this same story.
Une nuit, eh bien, c'était vers les 4 heures à peu près, on a été réveillés en sursaut avec un bruit d'une canonnade. Eh bien, donc mon père, qui était ancien militaire, il nous a dit c'est un combat naval. Quelques jours après, on venait voir sur les dunes si on ne voyait rien à l'horizon. Un beau jour, on a vu défiler, pas très loin de la côte, les corps des malheureux. Vous savez, on était émotionnés, on se disait c'est affreux, quoi. C'est épouvantable pour les familles qui ne verront plus leurs enfants, leurs maris, enfin leur père. Si bien qu'on était vraiment de cœur avec eux, mais ça a été vraiment une période très très dure pour nous. On a participé, on savait que c'était un bateau canadien, que nous étions alliés, et que on participait à leur douleur. J'ai toujours ces souvenirs-là dans la tête, quoi.
When we talk about a site of memory for the Army, of course we go to the battlefield. With the Navy, that's obviously impossible to do unless you're on a ship. So in this way, we have to rely on the ships and the stories and artifacts to really try to bring those stories to life and to memorialize them in a way that connects with us.
Eh bien, nous sommes dans le cimetière de Pouescat, où la plupart donc, des marins de l'Athabaskan sont enterrés, puisque nous avons ici 59 tombes. Je pense à tous ces jeunes hommes qui sont morts en participant à la libération de notre pays, puisque, grosso modo, il y en a la moitié qui sont morts dans le torpillage de l'Athabaskan, 128 morts sur 261. Et donc là, on reconnaît notamment le commandant Stubb. Je me permets d'avoir un instant de recueillement.
Do I think every one of them were heroes? Absolutely. Do I think one was more of a hero than another? No. I think that they were young Canadians, including Lieutenant Commander Stubbs, who were doing what they were trained to do, doing what they were ordered to do, and a model for others to look upon and to remember.
The stories we tell matter, and the values we espouse matter, and the people we celebrate matter, because they all have an influence on choices that others will make down the road.
This story allows us to remember the sacrifices made, but also to consider those that are in the armed forces today and the sacrifices that they continue to make.
Nous sommes dans un pays celte et un pays de marins. Bon, ici, les tombes y étaient, on les a toujours honorées. Alors, nous avons encore quelques témoins, comme au Canada, mais l'époque des témoins est en train de se terminer. Et maintenant, c'est aux jeunes, c'est à vous, au Canada, et nos enfants de maintenir ce souvenir. Thank you.